Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the CannaFitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I'm excited that you're here. If you're coming back or if you're new, I'm Beth, your personal trainer and cannabis educator. And today we're going to talk about dry herb vaping because it's my favorite thing, one of my favorite things. And I get a lot of questions about this because I post on social media and I often post, it looks like I'm smoking. And it probably, if you're not used to what a dry herb vape is, it probably also looks like you don't know what I'm smoking. And that's intentional because one, it tends to get attention. And two, it brings up the question, what are you smoking? What are you using? What is that? Why? Sometimes people just assume I'm smoking, I guess. And they're like, you're smoking on social media. And I'm like, yeah, well, let me tell you all about that. Because that's actually really important that you know the difference between smoking and vaping, right? And when I'm talking about vaping, I'm talking about dry herb vaping. Yes, they do call vaping those little pens with the oil in them, but I'm going to talk about those too. But today we're highlighting, because this is a major CannaFit thing, is dry herb vaping is the most natural way to use your cannabis. And at CannaFit, we are all about the most natural way to do as many things as possible, right? That's the way we roll here. Smoking and vaping are not the same thing. Just a quick understanding of that. Smoking relies on combustion, meaning you light the cannabis on fire. Fire creates smoke, smoke contains toxins, and you inhale the smoke and the toxins and the plant, right? But it's burnt. That's smoking, right? Dry herb vaping, the biggest difference is that it uses heat. So it's heating the material and not burning it. So inside the device, the thing that what I'm using when if you see follow me on social and you see pictures of me smoking, that's called a dry herb vape. I have a very small, not disposable, portable, small portable device. I got it from Planet of the Vapes. They're a great company. They have different sizes from tiny to desktop. But I like the portable one. Just go and carry it around. It's great. It's called a Lobo. But inside my device is a small little oven, basically. So I can and you use these little capsules. So you can put the exact amount of cannabis that you want inside the capsules. It goes in the oven, and then you turn it on to a certain temperature. You can set the temperature, right? So you can vaporize by heating the cannabis to a specific temperature without burning the material, right? And this is a big difference because when you burn it, you're creating byproducts like tar, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, like whatever that is. That doesn't sound good, but you're breathing those things in, right? Again, lots of people do. Smoking cannabis is different than smoking tobacco because that has byproducts, but also tobacco is really bad for you. Cannabis smoking is not as bad on your lungs, but it can be an irritant. So again, this is a personal preference thing. I'm not saying any of these things are right or wrong, but I'm going to say that at CannaFit, because most of us love movement to some degree, that it is better on our lungs to dry herb vape than it is to smoke. Again, this is not a black or white thing. This is not a yes and no. It's in general, this is how it is, right? That's kind of how everything in cannabis is. It's kind of like in general this, but you may feel X, right? And I might feel Y. So anyway, smoking cannabis burns the material. When you burn it, you lose some of the terpenes, right? You lose some of the flavor. And when you dry herb vape, because you're only heating the material and not burning it, you actually preserve the terpenes and you preserve the flavor, which is actually pretty cool. There are no byproducts. It's just vapor. So the danger of those byproducts, it irritates the lungs, right? It interferes with the little tiny, there's hair-like structures called cilia, remember that from like 7th grade, inside your lungs that are responsible for clearing mucus and debris. And that's what causes coughing, chest tightness, lung congestion, and that heavy, sticky feeling in your chest when you smoke cannabis. But if you're someone, and again, CannaFit people, we're mostly people who want to train. We want to walk. We want to breathe deeply, or simply just not feel winded going up and down the stairs, right? That matters. And so again, this is not a black or white, like you have to or don't have to. It's just that we generally like to move at CannaFit, and we're active people. So we're going to go on a hiking trip in a couple weeks. I don't want to be hurting just because I was smoking. I dry herb vape. That doesn't affect my lung capacity at all, because it dramatically reduces the exposure to these toxins, and nothing is being incinerated. There's no burning, right? Is it risk-free? I mean, no. But is anything? No, of course not. But it's a lower threat to your respiratory system, right? So the other thing about vaping is, compared to smoking cannabis, is that smoking, there's no control. You literally light it, it sets on fire, and then you smoke it, right? With vaping, you get control. So most of the devices, mine included, allow you to set an exact temperature. So you can play with heating your cannabis to different degrees, and this matters. I was doing 392 because I heard that was like a magic number, and then I lowered it to 370 because lower temps create a slightly lighter psychoactive effect, more clarity, more terpene expression, and often better for daytime use or movement. And honestly, that's mostly what I'm using. I personally don't have any trouble sleeping, knock on wood, because that's been my thing all these years, is I'm a good sleeper. And so I don't need it to help me sleep. I use cannabis during the day to regulate, to stay calm and clear and focused. That's why I love CBG so much. That's why I love a CBG and low THC combo, because that helps me stay really focused and really regulated and really stable. And this lower temperature, I'm finding, enhances that, the clarity and the focus. It's really enhancing that, because I don't need it for as much of the sedation, go to sleep, right? My husband, on the other hand, likes to use it to go to sleep. He uses it every day to fall asleep. And higher temperatures, so he keeps his at a higher temperature because that has a stronger body effect, more sedation, deeper relaxation, right? So you're not guessing, right? And that's the whole thing is, my whole thing about cannabis is that it's way more intentional than anyone gives it credit for. People, I think there's a lot of I know there's a lot of misconception about it. That's the truth, right? We know there's a lot of misunderstanding about cannabis. And one of the biggest misunderstandings is that it's just sort of willy-nilly. Like, just take a gummy. Just smoke a little bit. See what happens. You're going to feel fine. Well, actually, there's a lot of control that goes on with it. So you're not guessing, you're choosing. This is very intentional. And this is why people often say vaping feels cleaner. They feel that cleanness in their lungs. It feels less chaotic. People will say, I feel clear instead of foggy. Another big piece here is the terpenes, right? When cannabis burns, the terpenes are destroyed. Vaping preserves them. That means that there's better flavor, more nuanced effects, less of that stoned feeling, right? I mean, you can get there if you just keep using more and more and more, right? But it takes a lot more to get that feeling because you're preserving the terpenes. And the terpenes are just like aromatherapy. So you can actually blend in more aromas to enhance the aromatic effect. So you can, and I know people that do this, you can add to your little oven, right? Because there's a little capsule that you put in your little oven. So you can put in your cannabinoids of choice, right? I personally do a mix of CBG and THC. And then you could add in lavender, right, for more calming. You could add in some peppermint for clarity. You could add some chamomile. You could add anything, any herb that you want to. But lots of people do. They add in more aromatic compounds to enhance the terpene effects, right? Which is, I just think it's so cool. It's so holistic. It's so cool. It's so neat to be able to be in control of it instead of just smoking and letting it control you, right? And that's one of the big things that always held me back from cannabis, is because I just assumed that it was like alcohol. You just drank until you lost control and then you were without control. But no, cannabis actually allows you to stay in control a lot. a lot. So this isn't about being fancy either, right? It's about being intentional. So let's connect this to real life here. Most people I work with aren't trying to get obliterated. They're trying to calm anxiety, reduce rigidity, improve sleep, feel motivated to move, eat without urgency. And dry herb vaping supports this because it allows micro dosing. Instead of committing to an entire joint where dose creeps up super fast, you can take 1 or 2 controlled inhales. You can pause. You can notice. You can decide if you need more. You literally can turn the device on and off, right? So you don't have to smoke the whole thing because you already lit it, right? You can turn it on and turn it off. You can go back for more if you want, or you can take a couple puffs. It's really great. That pause and being able to turn it off is everything. It's the difference between I accidentally overdid it and I chose what my body needed. From a practical standpoint, I also love it because the vapor smell dissipates quickly, doesn't cling to clothes or cars, right? And is more discreet, right? I mean, I do show it off on social media, but that's because that's what social media is for, is to get attention. So in real life, I brought it to a wedding last year. It was in my purse, and it wasn't my friends that were getting married, so I was just there as my husband's guest. And so I took a little walk during the party because I didn't really know anybody. I was social, but then I took a little walk by myself. I took a few puffs and I walked back and I had it in my purse, and it was just really discreet. It wasn't like I didn't have to stand out there with a big old cigarette or a big old joint and it wasn't obvious what I was doing. It was just very discreet, which I love. It's also more socially functional. So you can bring it. You can bring it. I was fortunate this event was outside in nice weather. But you can, it is just more socially functional than having to bring a joint, light it, put it out somewhere, all of that, right? And yes, it is actually less expensive, right? So you're going to save money. I've covered this in other episodes, but I know it's a new year and there may be new listeners. So I want you to know that using flower, cannabis flower, is hands down the least expensive way to use cannabis. Gummies and drinks and all those fun things are great, but they are overpriced. So you're going to spend less money if you use flower. Now you want to get a good device, and that might cost you, it's going to cost you at least $100. I think the little one that I used to have is called the One, also from Planet of the Vapes. That might have been, just about $100, maybe a little more. And then I upgraded to this little bit bigger one, which was maybe $200. So that's an upfront cost. And yes, the desktop ones, they're $500 at least, right? But again, that's all you pay up front, and then you just have to buy flower. But here's the other thing too, is because you can turn it off, turn it back on, you actually preserve the flower. You're not just burning it and then wasting it, right? You're using less flower in each of these little dosing capsules. You're heating it up and turning it on, turning it off, so you're preserving more. You're not constantly buying pre-rolls or disposables. You're paying for efficiency, not excess. And you can use the already been vaped flower. So because you didn't burn it, it's still has stuff in it. You haven't destroyed it. You just heated it. What you've actually done is decarboxylated it, right? Decarboxylation is a fancy word for heating weed, right? It's what you do when if you're going to make an edible at home, you have to decarboxylate the weed first. You have to heat it up, right? And then you infuse it into a fat, okay? That's the very basic thing. When you heat your weed in your dry herb vape, you've heated it, so you've decarboxylated it. It's not going to be as potent because it's a higher temperature than you would have in the oven at home, but there's still good stuff left in it. So right now I've got a jar, I call it my compost jar, but I've got a jar where I'm dumping all of my leftover, already been vaped flour, and I'm gonna infuse it and make an oil out of it. And I'll play with this. This is the first time I've done this, but I'm going to play with it. I'll maybe try a topical. I might try to, put it in some oil and see if it makes an edible, see how potent it is. It will be less potent than normal because, again, it's a higher temperature. So it's already been, some of it has been expressed, but not all of it, which is pretty cool, I think. So again, it just aligns with this whole, this whole holistic approach that we're in, where it aligns with fitness culture, it aligns with holistic practices. I just love it. But let me be honest here too, right? We do not have robust long-term research on how dry herb vaping impacts aerobic capacity over decades, right? It's just true. For most average exercises, vaping appears to be a harm reduction approach compared to smoking. But if you are an elite endurance athlete, someone with asthma or lung disease, someone training at the margins of performance, any inhalation might not be ideal. This isn't about evangelizing. This is about informed choices. I'm trying to give you as many facts as I can, right? So that you know what's best for you. I personally really like it. It may or may not be for you. I would say compared to edibles, I do love inhalation because of the faster onset. Edibles, you kind of have to plan. Like if you're going to go to a party at 6 p.m. and you want to already be buzzed when you get there, you have to take your edible by 4 o'clock, right? Like you have to plan it out. If you want to be relaxed on your run, you have to take your edible at least an hour and a half before your run. So you have to plan a little bit. Inhalation allows you to puff and go, which I love. You're not waiting 90 minutes and hope that you got it right. You can use it intentionally. Before movement, after stress, during recovery, without the roller coaster. So let me leave you with a visual that makes this land. Imagine a vegetable. You grill it gently, you release flavor, you keep the structure, you preserve nutrients, right? By grilling it nicely on your grill. We have one of those new, I forget what they're called, the flat kind. It's really neat. Anyway, if you throw it directly into a fire and char it to ash, all you get is smoke, bitterness, and a mess. That's the difference. Vaping is grilling, smoking is burning it to ash. Same plant, completely different experience. So if you love cannabis, you also love fitness and you love just being all natural and as natural as possible, and you want a smoother experience, or maybe you're just tired of coughing. Maybe you just want a smoother experience and you want something that may be a little gentler on your lungs. I really encourage you to consider dry herb vaping. Start with something small like I did, that intro one. The intro device was a great way to get used to it and understand it and see the difference. And your body adjusts. If you have a really high tolerance, you're probably going to want to take a tea break at some point anyway, because it isn't as strong. It's not going to hit you as hard as smoking. But that adjusts, your body adjusts, which is pretty cool. Your body adapts, right? So if you start using the vape, at first you might not feel as much, but then your body will adjust to that too. So again, it just opens up more conversation for you to do what's right for you instead of just doing what you've always done or what everybody else is doing, right? If you want to talk more about it, this is literally what I do for a job, is I talk about how to optimize cannabis for your health. Feel free to email me. It's beth@CannaFitnessNutrition.com, or I hang out on Instagram a lot where I'm Beth_CannaFitnessNutrition. And I would love to answer your questions, help you. I do have a special promotion right now going on for coaching. So I can share that with you too. If you want a month or if you want 3 months, we can work together to get you to lose weight or get in shape, whatever your goal is. But anyway, I'll leave you with that for now. I hope that this was helpful and interesting, and I look forward to seeing you next time.